Hi, this is David J. Fielding, Zordon from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and you're watching Action Activate!
Welcome back to me, Gazbot, for Action Activate. And it's been a while, but I'm here, so it must be also this person.
It's Warping Time.
Oh, I don't have my... I didn't know.
I know. It's all good. It is I, the big dog, still the big dog.
Is this the one? No.
That's not how that works. So we are here for a late night Action Activate.
It's 1:05 a.m.
We just got done watching the Once and Always special on Netflix. Very late for the Gazbot, but we haven't talked about it other than we completed watching it. We gave commentary to each other during, but for a plethora of reasons, we're telling you our post thoughts as opposed to our mid thoughts.
Yeah, we thought about doing like our the way we do Mystic Force, kind of watching it, but we wanted to just watch it and be able to focus on it. So we decided, well, now we're talking about it. So that's what we're doing.
So overall, I'll start. I thought it was good. I thought there were a lot of good Easter eggs. There were a lot of good references. I thought a lot of the actors in it had standout performances, in my opinion, from what we've kind of seen from them. And definitely have some nitpicks that we're going to get into. But overall, I thought it was good.
I also thought it was good, which is what I expected. I wanted it to be great. I was afraid it would be bad. I hoped it would be good. It was good.
Yeah.
There are some parts I like better than others. Overall, it was good. I think one of the things that works against it, which is true of almost every Power Ranger thing, is the fan theories and the speculation that goes on after we learn a little bit about it. Because all the what if this and how about that? It's like, that's amazing. And then when it doesn't happen, it's like, I'm kind of disappointed those crazy things that were never going to happen didn't happen.
I wish, from what we know now, that we didn't know too much about Rita's motivation and that we never saw Adam and Aisha ever.
Yeah, I agree. We should not have seen them because they had a cameo.
Yep.
And them showing up at the end would have been a nice, like, hey, it's them. But instead it was like, where are they coming back? What are they doing? Where are they?
Yeah. What do those logos mean? What, like,
yeah.
Overall, though, Min was a great character for this. I'm glad about her introduction. I said during it,
is amazing.
Yeah, everything about her was great. I think if she's not in Cosmic Fury, there's an injustice going on.
I'll broaden that a bit. If she's not reincorporated or further incorporated into Power Rangers, that's an injustice. Does it have to be Cosmic Fury? No. But if they do a series of Mighty Morphin movies or a reboot or whatever, put her in that. If not Cosmic Fury or whatever, but clearly she's Ranger material, make her more than just this one-off.
Yeah. And they also kind of established she's the only one that's not like super busy with stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So if it was a thing like, oh man, everybody else has a MacGuffin reason why they can't be here, but she's here representing the OGs.
Yeah.
So kind of going in, this is going to be very scattered because A, we're not watching it. B, we have no notes, and C, it's late. So focusing on the good, C is your rating.
I was yawning. C and yawning.
So I think the action with Min's character was by far the best, followed by Zach, and then everybody else was tied. It wasn't great. It wasn't the best, but
you're talking about acting or action?
Action.
Okay, so like the fight scenes and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. She was the best, then Zach, then everyone else. Nobody was bad, but it was clear that some of the actors had more ability than the others, but it was all believable and filmed well. During it, I commented, I like Rocky's a big dude, and like he's just gotten beefier as the years go on. And like the scene in the juice bar where Zach is doing, his hip hop keto, and they bring in the little. That's great, and he's like, and then Rocky's just like, bro, just like manhandling, just like brute forcing his way through stuff. But that was fine. I believed it. I'm like, yeah, he's a big dude. He's got some Ranger energy in him. He's just knocking heads. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that part was cool. I like that they used the OG putty suits that Rita had. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Even that the masks, like the masks were very throwback. Sometimes they have
like with the hood too, where it was sort of like
these looked straight out of the original show as opposed to some modern versions of putties we've seen. A lot of good references.
So many references to the original show specifically. A few other Ranger shoutouts, but it was very much for Mighty Morphin.
I now getting full nitpicky. I would have appreciated a throwaway line or reason why we only saw them morphed.
What do you mean?
Like only the Mighty Morphin team.
As opposed to the other Rangers that we saw.
Because they did a good job of saying, like, any Ranger come, 2 people showed up.
Yeah, they could have even just had suit actors, even if they couldn't get the civilian actors.
And I get why they don't want to do that, because this is an MMPR special,
right? But you could show kind of like in some of the fan movies we've watched, just a montage of other Rangers going and getting shrunk or something.
Well, not only that, but if they did something like, oh, she's severing the connection to the grid, and we were able to stop it, but only our powers are the ones left working, like something.
Well. 2 things. One, I take back what I just said because the runtime wasn't long enough and I wouldn't have wanted to spend more time on just random people getting captured. So I take back what I just said. But part of the conceit was that they needed morphing energy. So they captured these Rangers and drain their energy. So if everyone was cut off from the morphing grid, then it wouldn't make any sense.
I mean, you could have easily worked like we got them. They are. There's ways you could talk around it where we only saw one team in suit fighting.
I get what you're saying, and I did originally think, hey, how about some shots of the Rangers being captured? But again, I would rather them not have used. I would rather not have lost any of the time we had already. The bigger nitpick, which I said when we were watching, well, you corroborated this. I was saying like we were talking about Zeo powers and how some of these characters don't they have their Zeo powers, and I was like, well, they kind of lost them for Turbo, so it's like theoretically Zeo powers are gone. But whichever way you want to look at that, they had Zeo yellow in the machine. So it's like, well, wait, so then Zeo powers do what? What does that mean? And you said like, yeah, but also
they just used any lightning collection figure they had on hand.
Because Phantom Ranger, who's like, is he even connected to the morphing grid necessarily?
Yeah. Which again was a cool way of using props, was a cool way of wanting you to make that display, all that. I get it. But because of the parameters of the story, none of the other powers that any Rangers had were mentioned, and none of the other Rangers that clearly are out there we saw, or like
at the very least in space has to exist because Andros
I get why they didn't, but like just give us a line or two, because here's the reason why they gave us a line or two or even a scene for everything else.
Well, I was gonna say on the flip side, the way they described how Billy was trying to bring back Zordon and accidentally brought back Rita, took over Alpha's body. Great.
Yep.
Perfect explanation. Everything I needed. Summed it all up. A+ on that part.
Yes.
I love that they brought back Barbara Goodson to do the voice. I love everything that they brought back. All the people they brought back. The Robo Rita, it's weird. Later in the episode, when her face was kind of smashed and stuff, the face didn't bother me at all. But in the beginning, it just looked weirdly big or something. Like I didn't love it. I do like the Snizzer, the Minotaur, weird choices to bring back. I would have liked it better if it was like Robo, Babu and Robo,
Robo Goldar, Robo.
Yeah, I was gonna say Goldar, but I guess we had him come back more recently, so I was trying to think of someone else. But like, I don't know. I guess they picked them just because they were like famous season 1 monsters in terms of toys and stuff, and that's fine. But I would have rather more of the characters she always like the court characters, I guess, for lack of a better term. But yeah, I definitely liked it. It was definitely good, but I definitely I went into it thinking it was going to be this good, which would I wanted it to be better, but I knew it would be just good, and so I'm not disappointed. but I wonder what other people are going to think, because I think some people are going to be like, oh my gosh, my childhood's back, I love it, and fair enough. But I could also see some other people be like, that's it. And I could get that too after all the buildup. I'm somewhere in the middle.
I think that, at least for me personally, the biggest hindrance, and this is with a lot of other things, is they showed too much, which planted seeds that never came to fruition.
That's true, yeah. And especially because a lot of what they showed, like, I would have liked more runtime. That being said, the first half could have been cut down a little bit and put more, like, it wasn't slow, but because we only had so much time, a lot of the first third or half was sort of build up and set up, and it had some nice acting moments and whatever, and that's all fine. And again, it didn't bother me when I was watching it, but most of that is what wasn't in the trailer. So we got through all that, and then it's like, here comes the exciting action. Most of this we've seen and we know who's coming. And yeah, like you said, with Adam and Aisha, that was, like, it was like cool that they were in it, but they weren't. you know?
Like if that was an Easter egg as opposed to like made out to be a feature.
Yeah, not only were they in the trailer, but they were in like the photo shoots and stuff, and it's just like, it made it seem like, oh, they're a big part of this, and they were not.
One thing I have a problem with plot-wise specifically was pretty much the whole time there's two consistencies until the end. Min disobeys everybody, and Billy makes things worse, like a lot. But at one point, they capture the monsters with this giant electromagnet.
Yes.
And you're like, great. And then Min's like, why don't we destroy them? And they're like, but we can't. And then literally 5 minutes later, they're like, we can't save everybody unless we destroy them. I'm like, okay, this is dumb. There's no reason.
They said that about Snizzard specifically. So it's like, okay, there's a reason. But then before that, Billy doesn't succeed, but he thinks he kills Rita. And then they're like, kill the Minotaur. And then after they're both dead, they're like, also, we got to kill Snizzard.
But Rita.
Rita. Well, then they killed Rita a second time because like we thought she was dead. And my thought was like, okay, well, Rita, because they're not going to kill living beings, especially if they don't have to destroy them, whatever. But Rita is an evil ghost that took over a robot, so she's a robot, so it's okay to kill her. But then I'm like, but then Snizzard's a robot, and so is Minotaur, and then they killed them. Yeah, it made no sense. It was like they were trying to set up a lesson. Whether you agree with it or not, whether you think it's good tactics or not, they're like, this is the lesson. This is what Zordon says. And then it's sort of like, but no. And they didn't even just kill him. It was like Rocky, they're like, whoa, and like,
Rocky stabbed him in the chest.
Like, this is for Trini. But meanwhile,
Billy he was like straight up stabbed Rita.
It's not about revenge though, right? So it's like, what was your other issue?
So that was a big one.
I remember something that I think was in the trailer that I don't remember being in the show. There was a lot of speculation about time travel. The juice bar, which was not time travel, and like the only time travel was that she opened a portal and looked through it and was gonna go through it.
Yeah.
The plan was kind of dumb in my opinion, because the plan was, I'm gonna go back in time and rule with my other self. First of all, Rita would not get along with Rita.
Yeah.
Rita can't get along with anyone, let alone herself. But I thought, from something I heard in the trailer, I thought the plan was go back and destroy them before they became Rangers.
Yeah, she says it in a throwaway line as well.
And okay. So that I guess I missed it in the show or whatever, but like in the trailer, it made it seem like, oh, she's gonna try to go back in time, and they're, but that kind of never happened, and it was like such a minor. I don't know. It just, her whole plan. I wish it had gotten further. I wish they had gone back in time and had to stop her, or Rita from the past. Like, it was just sort of like a lot of build up, and then it kind of worked, but it never seemed like much of a threat, I guess, because it never really got
like that. And some of the other things that we talked about, I feel like could have been handled cheaply and quickly, and they just chose a different direction for better or worse.
Yeah.
Because again, like in any other Ranger thing, we've established there's other Rangers, but 9 times out of 10, it's like, well, they can't show up except for this anniversary special where they get to show up. Like, and this is obviously that. So it would have just been, I think, good.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it just would have been good to have a reason why we only see these 5 people morphed.
Right. I agree. But it also occurs to me, something I was unclear on. Was it supposed to be that the original team, like from the first season, were still Rangers to this day as middle-aged people.
Yes.
And this was just like, oh, then Trini got killed and things got crazy. Because originally, like in the trailer, I thought it was gonna be a thing where like we're getting the band back together, or like, and they didn't have that. But it's like, but again, it sort of was in continuity because we showed other Rangers, we talked about the Z-Wave and things like that, but then like, so I guess Jason and Kim and they came back from the conference and took their powers back. But then how does that work with what we've seen? Like, it doesn't make so it made tons of sense if it was like years have gone by and we need to get our powers back to deal with Rita. Like, but the fact that we're supposed to believe they were operating as Rangers this whole time, I found that like a weird choice.
Again, I feel like that could have been solved if we said only the Dino powers work.
I think yes, and also it could have been a thing where they weren't using him, and Billy has this company, but he's trying to bring back Zordon as a civilian. Fine, no problem. Brings back Rita, he narrowly escapes, and then Alpha's like, I think we need to use the morphers again, and then he puts out the call, and everybody comes in, and it's like, oh, we haven't done this in 30 years. Here we go. That would be fine. It would be the same exact story, but just say that instead of like, yeah.
I think it's a thing.
That would also explain why Trini maybe like they're not up to speed and they're out of practice and they're getting beat up and Trini gets killed and like, that would, yeah.
To me, it seemed like Billy tries to bring back Zordon.
Yeah.
Robo Rita shows up. He calls for backup. That whole first scene takes place immediately after Trini dies. Time jump a year later. Here we are. Apparently for a year, they've been looking for her and can't find her.
Rita.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But again, all of those problems I think are solved with something morphing grid, something only Dino powers.
Right.
Because here's the other thing. They planted that seed of, hey, we can't have too much red or pink energy or whatever. So we have this secondary connection we've been working on, which still would work if you said, hey, I can't morph into Zeo. Hey, I can't morph into Turbo either. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. It's excuse me, they skirted the line between like, there's a lot of history that people know and we acknowledge it, but we don't want to get too much into that. We don't want to get bogged down, which again, I understand because as something I said, which I stand by, was this is for the casual fan. Now that is contradictory because there's a lot of Easter eggs, but this is for the Mighty Morphin fan. This is for the 90s kid that grew up. Yeah, it's for us that are watching it now, but this is for people like the people I know that are like, hey, did you hear they're bringing Power Rangers back? Like, yeah, man, like, but also it never really left. And like, that's who this is primarily for. So I think they didn't want to completely ignore all the history for people like us, but they didn't want to get bogged down in it for the people like, wait, what are they talking about? And so I think they wanted to kind of tread lightly on that stuff. Is the symbol on Cranston Industries? I don't think that's the Hyperforce symbol.
That's what people have said online.
I didn't do a screenshot, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it was or not. So not to keep pooping on it, but I'll be the one to say it since I'm the one who always says it. Not great CGI.
Oh, dude, that's right.
Love that Megazord battle. Nope. No good. It started off okay. The Zords running and everything and transforming. Fine. We're even used to that. And then transition to a suit. Wasn't a suit. As a CGI model, had weird proportions. Snizzard looked weird. The animation wasn't great. It just looked unfinished. It looked like video game graphics from like 2 generations ago or something. It just wasn't. And if you're gonna do that, then make everything look better, like a better version of the Megazord than a suit could be.
Just
and I think
do better.
Well, no, but I'm saying like even if it's like not, even if it's not rendered as hard or the details aren't there or whatever, like, but the design, the model could have been better. That wouldn't have cost more. And some of the like the idea is to make it more dynamic and do things you can't do with the camera angle with like the actors, which is what they do in the show. They'll have like some flip or whatever, but like it wasn't even anything that super great. And like you said, the sword slash or whatever you call it, the final move essentially wasn't even really correct.
It was like a sneaky move.
Yeah, and then the explosion was CGI that looked worse than the normal, just big barrel of gas or whatever they blow up normally. So like that was a big. The cockpit looked great.
Yep.
And then they cut to the Megazord. It's like, and it got worse. I just really didn't like it. And when I said it was giving me vibes of the original movie where like the whole
Yeah.
thing was better, the camera angles are better, the production values are better. I'm really enjoying it, but then the Megazord battle is somehow worse than the TV show, and it's just,
Yeah. I agree with everything you've said there. The attention to detail with the crystals and the
That I
like
love.
joysticks, that was awesome.
That was cool.
Switching up the positioning, I thought was good in the cockpit.
Yeah, sure.
Not needing everybody right away, but being more powerful with everybody in there, all that was good.
Yep.
Yeah, like it's still more good than bad.
Agreed.
Still more good than bad, but also definitely some people I think acted stronger than others. Walter Jones, I think, for me, out of the OGs, stole the show acting wise.
I agree with that. I went in hard wanting I was excited about David Yost.
Yeah.
And I'm still glad he was in it and everything, but I was like, Billy, you know, and you even said early on, you're like, boy, Walter, I think you said he's acting the crap out of that or something like that. And I'm like, oh, Billy. And you're like, no, Zach. And I'm like, well, Billy's carrying it a little. And then I was like, no, you're right. Zach's really, yeah.
No, he did solid. They mentioned JJ a lot, which from the Soul of the Dragon comic is Kat and Tommy's son.
I was trying to remember in Dimensions of Danger, they established that Kat and Tommy are together.
Yes.
Do they mention their son JJ in that?
I feel yes, because right before he gets captured, he's like, JJ, is that you? Okay. Are you home?
So it wasn't the first time they made it like live action canon.
Correct. But they just reiterated it a lot, which again, I said this and you had more of a because reasons answer, but like I think it would have been awesome if for some reason out of nowhere JJ comes with the White Ranger powers and like is like in the final fight or something. Who knows?
I'm glad that didn't happen. I think that would have been silly. What I do want to happen is I think as hoping for a series is too much, but a series of movies in this continuity where maybe then JJ comes in like one of the next ones and they build on what they've set up here.
I will settle for a comic.
Settle for a comic. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. My hope is if this does well ratings wise, they do more. And what I would guess is not that I understand the business for real, but based on what I understand, if it does well and they're like, let's do more, I could see them being like, well, let's do like 3, but film them all back to back because it'd be cheaper to fly everyone else, film them back to back, so that like I feel like if we get more, it's not going to be 1 more, it's going to be 2 more, 3 more.
Yeah,
and that I would like to see something spread out over a little bit of time, bringing in other characters and explaining like mythology. You know,
I think if you tie this in with other series, that is the move.
Cosmic Fury.
Well, that, or even if you go back a little bit, I mean, what if they got a bunch of people back from Dino Charge and did one? Like, if you think about the series that are on Netflix, I think it's Dino Charge Onward, and it's Mighty Morphin.
I don't know what's on there right now, so I'll just take your word for that. So we need to get Ninja Steel, is what you're saying?
I would take it, like, you know. If it's anything like this, like it's, you know, I will take new Ranger stuff.
Yeah, and as much as that's not everyone's favorite season, there were some good episodes, and most of the good episodes were like crossovers or.
So I'm looking right now and just searching Power Rangers. There is it's Mighty Morphin, Ninja Steel, Beast Morphers, Dino Fury.
I guess the thing with Beast Morphers and Dino, like all of those, I have no problem any of them coming back, but like we've seen all of them come back or crossover already. And it'd be nice to see, and I'd see them again. I'll take what I can get, but it would be nice to see other seasons that we haven't seen in a while come back.
But I think getting those casts would be so hard.
I don't know. I mean, any actors that show up at like Morphicon, I think would be willing to
Here's the thing. I think there's the balance between actors you can get and seasons that are popular enough, and the middle ground is too far. Like, other than Mighty Morphin, what is the second most popular season, like behind the scenes rating wise?
SPD?
Or In Space, maybe? Like,
In Space, yeah.
I don't see getting all of those people back.
I mean, In Space, all but one you could get. Other than Patricia, what's her name that played?
I don't even think that. Do you think Christopher Camenley would come back for official Power Rangers?
I think if they paid him enough, he would.
I don't know. I think he might be too stubborn or proud. I don't know.
I mean, he's come back for unofficial Power Rangers.
I know, that's what I'm saying, because
if they let him come back, first of all, if they paid him enough, and second of all, if he was the version of Andros like if he was this grizzled, like just like if he was a version of Andros he wanted to play, that he would come back. Yeah.
But I don't think those two would meet.
Here's the other thing. We just did the Mighty Morphin reunion without a full cast for reasons. They could bring back other partial teams. It doesn't have, or like a superstar team, just pick a couple from whatever seasons and they're thrown together, or,
So what you're saying is we both agree there should be more Ranger stuff.
Yes. Revelations.
I know it's getting kind of late for you and we're semi-rambling as we always do.
Yeah.
Any final good, bads, or in-betweens from your side?
I'm glad it exists. I'm glad we stayed up and watched it. I had a lot of fun having a little midnight screening party. And that's what I was saying earlier today when I was talking to people about this. I was like, I'm excited to see it, but I could, if I didn't have you to watch it with, I could have waited till tomorrow or the next day, but I was excited to stay up late and watch the special.
Excited it was an event.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the last time we did this was we watched the finale of Cosmic Fury.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dino Fury. And previous to that, we did Dimensions in Danger together. So I like the event nature of it almost more than the event itself.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. It was good. I'm glad I tempered my expectations because again, it's kind of what I expected, not in terms of like the exact story beats and stuff, but in terms of like, it's got better lighting and better camera angles and some better writing, and it's all kind of better, but it's not going to be this fanboy's perfect dream of what we all want it to be. And that's exactly what we got. Like a really polished, good version of a Power Rangers Mighty Morphin episode.
Yeah, it does make me excited for Cosmic Fury, seeing like this to me, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because from my understanding, behind the scenes wise, both things are the same. They're all Netflix and Hasbro. Simon Bennett's, in charge, a lot of similar writing, if not the same writers, yada, yada, yada. So this had to have those parameters that we talked about, where who it's for, what we need to do, who we could get, whatever. And with Cosmic Fury, we got the cast back from last season, and everything else we just need to do in 10 episodes.
Yeah. And they definitely, not that this was super dark, but they definitely aimed it at an older audience.
Yeah.
Kids could watch this, but they definitely said somebody died, a main character died. They said kill, and they said, they just used vernacular. It was like PG-13 basically, as opposed to
I would consider it like PG-10.
It was aged up to some degree.
Slightly. It's dialed up.
Yeah. And so I could see them doing that for Cosmic Fury as well. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it overall. The biggest thing I enjoyed was seeing actors that I had not seen for a while and having an event with my buddy. The thing I disliked the most was this CGI battle at the end. This is going to be controversial. I would almost rather there was no Megazord fight at all.
That's fair.
That's how much I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, because also they did such a great job with the out of suit and in suit fights. Like, those were better.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And they could have, Anyways, for me, I agree. I like that this was an event. I like that this exists. I like that this has gotten, more coverage than Power Rangers gets normally. I feel like it gets.
I like Radbug too.
Radbug too. It gets us, new toys. It gets us, all this great stuff. Nitpicks would be minor/major plot holes in CG. But really, I recommend, everybody watch this. I plan on watching at least parts of it again.
I'll definitely watch it again. Yeah. I'm more awake.
and just, doing the freeze frame, talking about it. And but until next time, I am still the big dog, and you are
Gazbot, messy office occupant.
And to the power. It's morphin' time.
See, I still wasn't really ready, but and to the power, yeah. I'm gonna look for credits, which is gonna take even longer than normal. And there they are.
I say it every time, but those guys in this shot right here had no idea.
Nope. I wore that vest today.
Did you now?
Yeah, but in that moment in time, I think there are 3 pins, and I now only have 1 pin on that vest.
Bummer. I still have the morpher in my hand and that t-shirt, and everything else is different.
But not you, buddy. You're the same.
No, I am a different man since then. 4
been in-
years does a lot to a person.
Oh, geez, that sounds terrible. Goodbye.